Greetings. I'm Dr. Doug Campbell, and today we're going to talk about how can you be at least somewhat confident that information that you find online is reliable. And I guess the easy answer to that is you can't, not for sure. But there are certain steps that you can take, certain tests that you can subject that material to that can at least make you somewhat more confident. So let's run through some of those things that you should be looking for anytime you read anything online. And those things are, first of all, who is the author? What are their qualifications? Second of all, evidence. What sort of evidence does that author use in order to prove their point? And finally, how does what the author has to say match with other things that you may have read or encountered about that particular topic? The number one thing that you really need to be looking for when you find a source online is who is the author and what are the author's qualifications? Why should you have any reason to believe that this person knows what he or she is talking about? So the sorts of things you should be looking for involve expertise and education. Has the author spent a lot of time gathering information or studying the particular thing that the website is on? Do they have credentials? This could be university degrees. Have they done a particular job or spent a lot of time in a particular country or seen events firsthand that would allow them to have expert knowledge of whatever the thing in question happens to be? So those sorts of credentials and expertise, that's really what you want in a trustworthy author. And please note, I'm not trying to say that just because somebody has a fancy degree or has a well-paying job or something like that, that they're automatically right. No guarantees there. But on the other hand, if you're asking yourself, well, who do I really trust to be able to give me good information on something? Do I trust somebody who has direct kind of firsthand experience? Do I trust somebody who has spent many years studying the topic in question? Or am I going to put my confidence in some random Joe? And especially one of the things that you might find is that the author of a website potentially might not be identified. That's a real problem because you literally just don't know. That person could be somebody who has a lot of expertise, or that could be somebody, the prototypical rando in their parents' basement wearing a tinfoil hat or something like that. There's just no way of telling. Likewise, you could also take a look at who actually publishes the website. Is it hosted by some sort of reputable academic institution or think tank or employer or something like that? Obviously, those sorts of organizations you could potentially place more confidence in, than somebody who just has a random kind of personal webpage that they're putting material out on. So the identity of the author / the organization that sponsors that author, that's a really important thing to check for. Number two, and even more important than the identity of the author, is the question of, okay, what about the author's evidence? Do they show their evidence? And if they don't, that's definitely, again, a warning sign that this is maybe some material that you can't really have confidence in. Any author worth his or her salt is going to specify, okay, here is my evidence. This is where I am drawing my arguments from. I'm not just making this stuff up. So you want to look for evidence first and foremost. And what are the specific types of evidence? Is the author citing, are they citing actual kind of documentary evidence, historical stuff, primary sources, and what is it? Are they legal documents? Are we talking about diplomatic correspondence? I mean, obviously it depends on what the topic is, but are they citing firsthand evidence? Are they citing sources that were produced by scholars or other experts in the field? So articles in peer-reviewed journals, books published by academic presses, that sort of thing. That's another thing to look for. But there should be some indication of how the author knows any of this stuff at all. If that evidence is not there, it doesn't matter how many fancy credentials the author has. The piece that you find online is automatically less reliable. And finally, another thing that you want to take a look at is what exactly is this author arguing, and does it match with what other people in the field have to say about the topic? Is this author just coming up with a wacky argument out of left field if they're talking about, the pyramids in ancient Egypt or something like that? Are they saying that space aliens constructed them? If it is something that is just totally just out of nowhere, that sounds like a wacky conspiracy theory or something like that, that's probably an indication that this is not so trustworthy. Again, compare it to other resources that talk about that same topic. If what the author of the webpage has to say matches those other sources, that you can probably have a bit of confidence that what they're saying is correct. If it seems wildly at odds with what other people who know what they're talking about for whatever the topic is have to say, then maybe you want to throw it in the trash can. So all of those things, like anytime, I've said that this sort of applies to online like stuff, web pages and things like that, and certainly web pages, YouTube videos, but really anything that you happen to read, anything in print, anything online, anything that you see, you should always be questioning these sources critically and going over them with kind of a fine-tooth comb and asking the question, like, how do I know that this is accurate? How can I have any confidence that this person knows what they're talking about? So these are the three things that you should be looking for every time you read anything online. Not just read YouTube videos and stuff like that. Indeed, even any sort of print resource that you find, you should always be asking these questions, like, who's the author? What's the evidence? How well does it match with what other experts in the field have to say? Obviously, like, there is a lot of made up stuff out there. Like, at no point in human history has it been easier to access information. But at the same time, at no point in human history has it been easier to find just lots of bullcrap that was totally made up, just pulled directly out of somebody's butt. There's a lot of that stuff out there too. So you should be constantly sort of critically evaluating anything you read, anything you watch, online, in print. Even then, there are no guarantees. Odds are you're going to come across false information, but the only chance you have of avoiding just totally falling for a line of somebody's BS is if you regard everything with kind of a critical, skeptical eye. Ask these questions about the author, the evidence, and how well it matches what other people who ought to know have to say. So hopefully that helps. If you're looking for stuff online, read with your mind open. Think for yourself. If you don't, somebody else is going to be more than happy to do it for you. Don't fall for BS. Thanks. Bye.